Welcome to this explainer. We really take our daily commutes for granted these days, but today we're looking at how the terrifying flaws and honestly the raw, unfiltered power of legendary classic cars acted as the ultimate crash course for modern safety. Our ultra-safe vehicles didn't just appear overnight. They were born from an era of trial, error, and some genuinely frightening engineering. What we're actually tracking here is a massive 10x evolution in automotive safety, and it all started with some of the absolute most dangerous machines ever put on the pavement.
I mean, the Widowmaker. Just let that nickname sink in for a second. Given to the early Porsche 911 Turbo, it perfectly captures the raw allure and the genuine terror of these historical machines. These cars were incredibly fast, undeniably powerful, and completely iconic. But here's the catch. A tiny mistake behind the wheel didn't just mean a dented bumper. No, it meant complete disaster. So what actually makes a car dangerous? It isn't always just insane speed. Actually, scratch that. Sometimes a completely slow car with fatal design flaws can be just as deadly. We're going to break down how these early, sometimes fatal vulnerabilities literally force the massive 10x safety evolution that you and I benefit from today. To make sense of all this, we've grouped these famous cars into specific threat profiles: fatal flaws and cheap builds, the rollover epidemic, and unforgiving power and speed. After that, we'll map out the 10x safety evolution and finally ask the big question: are we completely safe today? All right, let's jump straight into Chapter 1, fatal flaws and cheap builds. Let's talk about the Ford Pinto, right? Back in the 70s, to compete with cheap imports, Ford positioned the fuel tank directly behind the rear axle. In severe rear-end collisions, the bumper pushed right into the tank. It created a genuinely terrifying fire risk. Then there's the Chevy Corvair. Its rear-mounted engine and tricky swing-axle suspension made handling incredibly unpredictable for the average driver, which quickly made it a massive target for safety advocates. And the Yugo GV? Astonishingly cheap, sure, but that bargain came with some really severe compromises in structural reliability. While the Yugo was definitely the butt of countless late-night jokes, if you were in a crash, there was absolutely nothing funny about it. Today, we've seen a literal 10x improvement in structural safety. Even the absolute most affordable modern cars on the lot utilize advanced crash structures and carefully engineered crumple zones to absorb all that impact energy and push it away from you. Moving right along to Chapter 2, the rollover epidemic. Picture the late 90s. Vehicles like the Ford Explorer and the Bronco II really brought the high center of gravity into the mainstream. The problem was, sudden steering maneuvers, like, say, dodging a tire on the highway, could easily trigger a rollover. The suspension design, combined with that top-heavy weight distribution, created a massive risk if you jerked the wheel. It served as a really harsh wake-up call for the industry regarding tall vehicle stability. Now, if you want a perfect, kind of hilarious example to prove that stability is just basic physics, look at the UK's bizarre Reliant Robin. To roll one of these, just follow 3 simple steps. Take its single front wheel, add a little bit of speed, and attempt a corner. Pushing this little economical oddity beyond its intended limits made things interesting very, very quickly. It became a global joke, but the engineering lesson is deadly serious. 3 wheels might save weight, but they completely compromise your stability. Okay. Chapter 3, Unforgiving Power and Speed. 0. Literally 0. That is the exact number of advanced traction control or stability systems you'd find in classic performance cars, like the early Corvette. Too much throttle? Boom, the rear wheels are spinning. There was no computer to save you, no automated braking to correct a slide. They offered 0 modern safety nets, and they demanded absolute 100% respect from anyone brave enough to drive them. I mean, look at the Tomaso Pantera. It's a stunning mid-engine Italian design packed with a massive American V8. Sounds like a dream, right? Until that mid-engine weight distribution loses traction and just snaps on you instantly. Or take the ultimate legend of danger, the Shelby Cobra 4027, a feather-light British roadster stuffed with an enormously heavy V8. It was built for speed, definitely not safety. And controlling that explosive acceleration at the limit required serious professional-level driving skills. And we can't talk about this era without mentioning turbo lag. You probably know the feeling. It's that massive delay between pressing the accelerator and then suddenly getting hit with a tidal wave of boost. Add that sudden, unpredictable burst of power mid-corner to the rear engine weight of the Porsche 911 Turbo, and drivers quickly discovered its terrifying limits. If you lifted off the throttle in a panic, the rear end became violently unstable. They were fast, they were beautiful, and they were completely unforgiving. Which brings us to Chapter 4. The 10x Safety Evolution. It took all of these major, sometimes tragic accidents and public controversies to force governments and manufacturers to evolve. We moved from an era where just getting standard seatbelts felt like a massive victory to the decades where airbags finally became standard. More recently, electronic stability control was mandated to defeat rollovers and power slides, and today, we literally have automatic emergency braking. It's a true 10x evolution from zero assistance to active, intelligent crash prevention. Basically, the terrifying weaknesses of the Pinto, the Explorer, and that Widowmaker Porsche gave birth to the exact safety nets protecting you right now. How do we survive impacts today? Advanced crash tests and crumple zones. How do we tame top-heavy or overpowered vehicles? Anti-lock brakes and electronic stability control. In a strange twist of fate, the most dangerous legacy vehicles revealed the fatal weaknesses of older designs, and that ultimately gave us the incredibly safe cars we drive today.
And finally, Chapter 5. The big question. Are we completely safe? Well, the harsh truth? No. No car is completely safe. Despite these incredible 10x technological leaps, the human element is still the critical factor. All the automatic braking and crumple zones in the world cannot rewrite the laws of physics if you ignore speed limits, neglect your bald tires, or just drive recklessly. Technology gives us an incredible safety net, sure, but driver behavior is still the ultimate deciding factor. So take a second and think about the balance between the visceral thrill of the past and the advanced safety of today. The era of the Pinto, the Bronco II, and the Cobra 427 created some of the wildest cars in history precisely because they lacked a safety net. Knowing what you know now about their fatal flaws and unforgiving power, which of these dangerous legends would you actually dare to get behind the wheel of today? Thanks for joining me for this explainer. I really hope it gives you a whole new appreciation for the engineering that keeps you safe every single time you turn the key.